Amiga fans beware! It's Halloween time again, and so we're here to talk about another game that's all spooky and sinister. This year's offering is a game that is particularly memorable for two very big reasons. Get your mind out the gutter, I'm not talking about those reasons. Hello everybody, welcome to the Re-Review, the series where I get to replay and reassess games from my favourite gaming era. I'm Brian, also known as UKGN Zoidberg, and I'm taking a break from carving pumpkins to once again talk about Amiga games. Horror games were not as common back in the 90s as they are today, and that consequently made them stand out a little bit more. I covered perhaps the biggest horror game on the Amiga of them all with Darkseid last year, and this year I'm going to talk about another fairly high profile game. Or at least it was at the time of its original release. In this episode, the game that I'm going to be taking a fresh look at is Elvira, Mistress of the Dark, which was developed by Horrorsoft and published worldwide by Accolade in 1991. There will definitely be some people out there watching this video who have no idea who the character of Elvira is or was, and why she has such a cult following, particularly amongst fans of horror. Played by actress Cassandra Peterson, she first appeared on US television as the host of a show called Movie Macabre, which would screen late-night B-movies, and the host would occasionally interrupt the action to comment and make jokes about what was happening. The show ran from 1981 to 1986, and the character became so popular that she ultimately ended up starring in her own movie, Elvira, Mistress of the Dark, in 1988. This eventually led to a video game, loosely based on the plot of the video movie, from UK-based developer Horrorsoft. Horrorsoft was the name used by AdventureSoft UK to make graphic adventure games for 16-bit systems. They were founded in 1988 by Mike Woodruff, who had previously run the UK arm of Adventure International. After the US side of that company went bankrupt in 1986, Woodruff had to change the name, and went on to produce a number of text adventures based on Dungeons & Dragons and Masters of the Universe. The first game produced by Horrorsoft was Personal Nightmare in 1988, which was highly praised for its atmosphere and characters. Published by Tynesoft in the UK, it featured a specifically designed game engine that allowed the players to use either the mouse or keyboard to control the action. The two Elvira games came next, Mistress of the Dark and its 1992 sequel, The Jaws of Cerberus, both of which added some light RPG elements to the gameplay, where your character's fighting ability could improve as you played. American magazine Computer Gaming World actually named the first game their RPG of the year in 1991. Between those two adventure games, Horrorsoft would work in conjunction with Flare Software to produce Elvira the arcade game, a very good looking action platform game with a few elements of gods to it, although nowhere near as good as that Bitmap Brothers classic. The final game released under the Horrorsoft banner was Waxworks in 1993. Coming on 10 floppy disks, this was the team's biggest game to date, taking a team of just 5 people 2 years to make. One of those people was Simon Woodruff, son of Mike, who was one of the game's designers, and had actually designed his first video game at the age of 6. The company name was changed back to AdventureSoft for their next release, as there was no horror anywhere to be seen. That game was Simon the Sorcerer, a light-hearted fantasy adventure that, according to the writers, had been conceived during a long drive up the M5, as they tried to come up with a character and a setting to rival Monkey Island and Discworld. Although the game was well received by critics on its release in 1993, it is actually the talkie version released a year later that fans remember the most fondly. Released on the CD32 and PC, it featured pitch-perfect work from Red Dwarf's Chris Barry in the title role. A sequel, The Lion, the Wizard and the Wardrobe, was released in 1995 for the PC, although Barry did not return, with the role now being played by Brian Bowles. This had been in development for the Amiga, but was abandoned for what was believed at the time to be the declining Amiga market. Epic Marketing did eventually pick the game up for release in the year 2000, where it was released as CD only. I have actually streamed both Simon the Sorcerer games right here on the channel, so if you want to see full playthroughs of each, I'll make sure I put a link to them in the description. Work on a third Simon the Sorcerer game began, but was halted in favour of 1997's The Feeble Files. This sci-fi adventure was also praised for its sense of humour, and featured another Red Dwarf cast member, Robert Llewellyn, in its title role. Sadly though, the reviews criticised the game's slow pace and poor puzzles. AdventureSoft, the publisher, went on to become Headfirst Productions, the developer, and by the time the third Simon the Sorcerer game did materialise in 2002, the cliffhanger ending from the second game had gone unresolved for 7 years. The game received mixed reviews, and Mike Woodruff would later go on to admit, in an interview with The Adventure Gamer, that the switch to 3D was a mistake. In 2005, they sold the franchise to German publisher Silver Style Entertainment, and 2 further Simon the Sorcerer games were made, although the Woodruffs were only credited as additional designers. A brand new game, Simon the Sorcerer Origins, was announced in 2022, featuring the return of Chris Barry as Simon, and it finally got released on all modern consoles just this last week. And I played it in a live stream 3 days ago. Now though, let's cast our minds back to 1990 and see what the magazines had to say about Elvira, Mistress of the Dark upon its original release. Even though the game didn't hit the shelves until early 1991, the first review of Elvira was in the June 1990 issue of Zero magazine, where the game also appeared on the cover. The review appeared this early because it had been provided by the game's original publisher Tynesoft, who actually went bust shortly after. Somehow though, the review did manage to list the game as being out now. Zero's review was an incredibly positive one though. Spread across 4 pages, reviewer Duncan MacDonald went into great detail about how the RPG and adventure elements of the game worked, and he was full of praise for the game's graphics and gore. His only real criticism was that he felt that some of the puzzles would be too taxing for casual gamers. The final score was 93%, and when the game did eventually come out 6 months later, they summarised the review again in issue 17 with the same score. At the other end of the score spectrum, there was Amiga Format, who reviewed the game in their February 1991 issue. Although they were also impressed with the graphics, Trenton Webb felt that the amount of disk accessing between locations was incredibly frustrating. He was also not impressed with the game's combat and gave it a final score of just 61%. The following month, Amiga Action published their review and gave it 87% and an Action Accolade Award. In their Adventure Game Super League, they placed it at number 6, sandwiched between Maniac Mansion and Operation Stealth. In all, I found only 6 reviews of the Amiga version of Elvira in UK magazines, and Amiga Format's review ends up dragging the average score down to 84.7%. On the Lemon Amiga website at the time of recording, the user score is currently 8.21 from 107 votes, with an impressive 26% of those scores being a maximum 10 out of 10. Now though, it's time for the playtest, and time for me to play the game for myself and see which side of the fence I sit on. Okay, now this game came out in that weird time between when I owned an Atari ST and when I got an Amiga, just before I started working on Games X. So I never really got to play it that much. Okay, typical adventure game start where I end up getting thrown into a dungeon or somewhere. The number of adventure games that start with you in a dungeon is pretty surprising, really. And here's the Mistress of the Dark herself. So she's the one rescuing me. That's a subversion, a little.
Hi, I'm Elvira. Honey, I'd do anything to get out of here.
So I must find and open a chest and use the contents to destroy Imelda. So he's going to give me a little knife and some spells. Okay. So I move around by clicking on these icons here. Okay, okay, I'm being attacked. I don't actually have anything that I'm attacking him with here, do I? I have no idea where I'm actually supposed to be going. Oh, no, that's the captain of the guard. Oh, cracky, he's quite tough. I'm not going to survive this. Oh, okay, I'm dead. Do I want to play again? You know what I'm going to do here? I'm actually going to stop playing this right now, and I'm going to go off, and I'm going to find the instruction manual, find some maps and a guide, and find out what I'm actually supposed to be doing. And then I'm going to come back and play it again. Right, so here we go. I'm back here again at the stables. So I need to go back to the front of the house. And if I turn and go inside, so yeah, I actually have a map of the castle now. I want to go down that way. I believe this is the door that... Oh no, I've got a guard. Let's use that. I mean, as good as the graphics are on these combat sections, the actual interface isn't that great. Right, I'm going to take that sword. I'm going to take that shield. I'm going to take that crossbow. Okay, there's somebody in that bed. Okay, I've been killed again. Wooden stake. Oh, there's Elvira. Oh, I've only got three strength left. Oh, that's really not good. Eating some jelly restores some health. Oh no, that's a... He looks like an ominous guard. Oh no, he's pretty useless. So let's open that. There's guards everywhere. I can see why you need a map for this, because it is all the environments do look very similar. It would appear there's not an awful lot to do here, other than just fight all these guards. Yeah, he's bludgeoned me to death. I have died once more. Who's this guy? Uh-oh. Has that killed me again? Yes, it has. Oh dear. I don't think I'll bother going in there next time. It did actually suggest like saving your game before every single fight, which is all well and good, suggesting that, but when you're playing it on an emulator, it's not exactly easy. I suppose if you're playing it on the A500 Mini, you can just use save states. Who's this? He's got a key. Okay. Oh, that bird just ripped my eyeballs out. It's got some impressively gory death images. I'll give it that. I just wish that the combat had a bit more variety to it. Hey, so I've got all the... Right, okay. Okay. What's she doing? We're going to do with the dumbwaiter then. Oh, is that... Okay. Secret passage. Ah. There we go. That's it. That's how you do it. Right. Yeah, there's definitely a lot more to this game than your average adventure game. I take it that the different coloured tunics that these guards have mean that that's how difficult they are to fight against. But hey ho, that's me dead once more. So I think I'm going to go on to the final summary on this game now. I think it's a little bit more... There's a little bit more to it than your average adventure game. So let's summarise my thoughts in the review. Elvira, Mistress of the Dark is another game that I was aware of when it was originally released, but never really played. Playing it today didn't really make me feel like I'd been missing anything. What's instantly apparent is that the team at Horrorsoft certainly knew how to create an ominous atmosphere in their games. The music and excellent graphics combine to make you feel that danger could be around any corner, and the numerous instant deaths that can also befall your character really enhance that feeling too. The different gory images of your character's various demises are also incredibly well realised. I felt that navigating the castle itself was a bit of a chore. The interface is a little overly complicated and many of the corridors look identical. I would definitely recommend that you grab a pen and paper as you play and draw your own maps. Or alternatively, there are plenty that you can download online to help as well. The combat is easily the most disappointing element of the game, as it doesn't seem to require any skill or timing from the player in order to win a fight. Encounters end up being more of a luck-based test of endurance and ultimately aren't any fun. If you want to get anywhere in the game, then you'll probably have to make sure that you save game before each encounter. I can tell that there's clearly a lot of craft that's gone into this game's creation, but it's not really going to be one that I'm ever going to go back and play again. It's certainly not as enjoyable as other games that were created by Horrorsoft, and that's reflected by where I've put it in the Retro Game Super League. It's ultimately a difficult game for me to score too. I can see the game's qualities and why there are many people out there who like it, but it's not really a game for me. Therefore, a score of 6 out of 10 is probably about the highest I can go. Thank you for watching this review of Elvira. If you're a fan of the game and think that I'm completely wrong in my assessment, please make sure that you tell me why in the comments. Also, what's your favourite horror game on the Amiga, or the favourite game produced by Horrorsoft? If there's a game that you'd like to see me cover on this series, head over to our Discord channel where there is a section specifically for game suggestions. We also host a monthly score competition on there for members, as well as have a rolling quiz amongst the usual gaming chat. If you have enjoyed this video, please make sure to give us a like and subscribe. All the links to our various social channels are in the video description, including ways that you can help donate to the channel to support what we do. Next month's re-review will be looking into the history of Argonaut Software and their game Starglider 2. Make sure you don't miss it. Until then, happy retro gaming everybody, and I'll see you soon.